A federal judge has dismissed a worker advocacy group's lawsuit accusing Smithfield Foods Incorporated, that's the world's largest pork processor, of failing to adequately protect employees from the novel coronavirus at its plant in Missouri. In that lawsuit filed last month, the group accused Smithfield of creating a quote-unquote public nuisance by failing to protect its workers. And joining us now to discuss this case, our chief legal analyst, Dr. Laura McNeal. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you. And what are your thoughts on the judge's ruling in this case today?
You know, I found this judge's ruling to be quite surprising. It's not typical for a judge to rule this way. I acknowledge that President Trump issued this executive order for meat packing plants to stay open. I understand the rationale behind that, but that should not preclude workers or concerned citizens from bringing a lawsuit because they have concerns for safety measures that are being done in these particular plants. I don't think it's a step in the right direction, and I have really serious concerns about it.
Well, it's kind of widespread. We're talking, Missouri here, but there's Iowa, there's Nebraska, all these hot spots that are popping up. How do you think the court ruling is going to affect workers' safety in meatpacking plants in general?
Well, Fred, I think what's going to happen is that it's going to incentivize a lot of these meat packing companies to kind of take a laissez-faire approach to safety standards, because now, based on this federal court's ruling, it's telling them, you know what, we're not going to hold you liable. We're going to dismiss any cases that are brought that are related to safety concerns, and we're going to leave it up to government agencies to enforce those safety measures. And so I think that, it concerns me because during this COVID-19 crisis, more than ever, this is the time that we want these meat packing companies to exhibit higher standards, right? Safety standards, definitely not to ease up on them.
Now, if you are a worker and you're afraid to go back to work because the safety standards aren't there and you're on unemployment, let's say, is there any way you can avoid, and sometimes if you are offered your job back and you don't go back, then you lose your unemployment benefits. Is there anything a worker can do to help himself in that particular case, he or herself?
Yes, a worker should file a complaint with OSHA. That's the Occupational Safety and Health Agency. And the reason they want to do that is when they try to go and get their unemployment insurance, they need to be able to say, look, I have serious concerns about my safety. My employer is not following safety procedures. I filed a complaint with OSHA. So it helps show that you're not just using this as an excuse not to return to work, but that you have valid concerns. And then it's going to be up to your particular state's unemployment office to decide whether or not they're still going to compensate you. But you definitely want to file the complaint in hopes that it'll help shield you from those types of things.
All right, now based on President Trump's executive order, what is the government's role, if any, in worker safety in these meatpacking facilities?
Well, based on President Trump's executive order, the government's role is to provide these meatpacking companies with PPE, so personal protective equipment, as well as keeping them up to date on CDC and OSHA guidelines. And so we all know there's been a shortage of personal protection equipment, and what the executive order is saying is we recognize that you're an important infrastructure in our country. We need these meatpacking stations to stay open, and therefore we're going to provide you with this PPE so that you can adhere to our safety mandates.
So is this a cost-cutting measure basically by these meatpacking facilities, or we're not being able to get their product into supermarkets all across the country?
I think there are some cost-saving measures they might be taking, but I think what's more important to focus on is, are they maintaining employee safety, and meaning minimizing their exposure to COVID-19, and are they doing it in a safe way to where they're still supplying the American public with this much needed food supply, but also maintaining safety in the workplace?
All right, Dr. Laura McNeal, thank you so much. We're always a little bit smarter when you show up.
I don't know about all that, but thanks, Fred.
Okay, thank you.